Hello, everybody. This is Two Idiots One Podcast, and I'm Bailey.
I'm fucking Taylor, I guess. And today, before we get started, I want to talk about something that I truly 100% enjoy.
Okay, what is it?
Going to Walmart.
Dude, I hate Walmart. Self-checkout's garbage. The prices are way higher than they make you think they are. It's just not the place for me, but what specifically do you like about it?
Oh, I like walking around the parking lot or driving around the parking lot, and as I'm trying to find a spot, all of a sudden I see the tow truck come in because I know it's about to happen.
Somebody's about to get their car towed to a mechanic?
No, they're about to get repossessed.
Ooh.
Well, let me rephrase that. I think that that's what's going to happen. You could be right, and it could be that their car broke down, and I just don't know it. But in the back of my mind, I'm always like, "Oh yeah, repossession, take it, just take it."
I can understand that. Not liking people and thinking it's funny when ill happens to
That is incredibly dark.
them.
That is incredibly dark.
Is that not where you meant to go with that?
No, not at all. What I was going to go with it is I just wanted to see if there was going to be some kind of hostile interaction, like you get on the TV shows.
I feel that.
You took it to a very dark place.
Well, I mean, I feel like dark is where we need to be today.
Why do you say that?
Well, because, we're talking about repossessions and harvesting, if you will.
Oh, speaking of harvesting, you ever played Harvester?
I've not.
Oh yeah, it's like a 1990s point and click game.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that sounds pointy and clicky.
it's pretty gory. You get to harvest some organs and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And you know what else harvests organs?
Repo Men?
Repo Men. But not Repo Men necessarily. Like one word Repo Men, not Repo Men, the 2010 movie, which is not what we're talking about today.
Are we talking about the genetic opera?
We're talking about the 2008 movie Repo the Genetic Opera.
Ooh, that's a banger. I love it.
If you love it so much, then tell me who wrote it.
It was written by Darren Smith and Terrance Zdunich. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, but he's the individual who played the grave robber.
And who directed it?
It was directed by Darren Lynn Bousman.
Who was the dude who did the Saw movies, I believe.
Yeah, it was 2 through 4.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because I think 5 was a different guy, because I'm pretty confident that he didn't do 5 in order to make this movie. Which a lot of this movie, I think he funded 90% himself because nobody wanted to produce it.
Well, so speaking of him funding most of it himself, there were also some producers involved because there were 3 songs cut from the movie because producers couldn't approve them or wouldn't approve them.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't think that producers wanted to do it, because I know Lionsgate, who did Saw, said no.
Which is unbelievable because I feel like because of Darren's work with Saw, you would think that, or with Saw and Lionsgate on the Saw movies.
And don't forget Twisted Pictures.
Yeah, that he would have some like respect gained through them so that they would be willing to toss him something, kind of like how other well-known directors sometimes get bones tossed to them by major studios.
Because they want their
money.
money.
they want some of their movies, so they're like, oh, you're going to produce this, but we're going to give you another shot at something else.
Because we want money.
Like Zack Snyder, like he always gets to direct his movies twice.
I mean, he only makes perfect movies, except for Batman versus Superman. But we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about Repo today.
Exactly.
So I just want to know, on a scale from 1 to 5, what do you give it?
So I'm actually going to give 2 different scores.
Okay.
I'm going to give a personal score because of how this movie makes me feel and how it historically made me feel when I first watched it, which I would give it a 4. And then I'm also going to give it a second score, and that's my like recommendation score for people who don't have like the same mindset that I had when I initially watched it, which was angsty teenager, and that's a 2, because while if you're in the niche group that this movie is trying to hit, I think that this is a super solid movie that you would really enjoy. However, if you're not, it's going to probably appear cringy, which you may not enjoy as much.
So, speaking of not enjoying it, I do want to, before I give my score for it, this was a viewer-submitted film.
Yeah.
And what is super funny is the person who recommended it, Mata, I believe, said, because when you said we were doing it, I think you told me that he said Taylor's going along with that. Really, doesn't seem like a movie he'd be into. And I just want to say, Mata, you're a 100% fucking correct.
Yeah, Taylor was not a huge fan.
But that's okay because I do have two different scores for it, like you do. Because if we had recorded immediately after I watched it, I would have gave it a 0. I would have thought that is the worst thing. It would have been the first ever 0 out of 5.
Cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded. But then I went home and started doing research about it, to get some cool hard facts about it. And then the more that I looked into it, I kind of understood what was going on, thought about it, and I realized that this movie was not made for people like me. It was not made for adults. I think that it was made for people that were rebellious, the angsty teenagers, like you said. And looking at it from that mindset, probably a really good movie.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to take the average and say that I'm going to give it 3.
I mean, I think 3 is definitely a fair score, and I think that it's really big of you to like look at it from both perspectives, because I know as someone who didn't like come into it with that perspective already, without a love for it prior, it might have been hard for you to enjoy as a grown-ass adult.
Well, as a grown-ass adult and someone who absolutely despises musicals,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any place for singing in a movie unless it's... Which there is one instance in this movie where the singing made sense to me, and we will get to that. And that's the only time I will say this is okay. But going into it, you know who else gave it a 3 out of 5?
Roger Ebert?
Roger Ebert on RogerEbert.com.
I
think that was mainly due to the music, which the music was really good, honestly.
There were definitely really good songs. The song that sticks out to me, and it's been my favorite song from this movie, is the Zydrate song.
And that's mine too.
Zydrate comes in a little glass vial.
A little glass vial?
Exactly.
Which, that was super catchy. I think the problem I have with him, with the Grave Robber, is all of his songs sound exactly the same.
Yeah, he uses the same like rhythm on all of them, which I don't know if that was like a choice because he's not very good at singing, which I think he did phenomenal in this. That's not me saying I don't think he's good at singing, but I don't know if it was something like that where he was just like, this is what I'm good at, I want to stick with this, because he was also one of the writers for it.
Right.
So because of that, I'm pretty confident that he had pretty high up in what he was going to do or not do, or a lot of say in it. So I think that was a decision he probably made.
Well, and one thing that I really like about this movie is it doesn't do what some other musicals, I should say, does, and put your main talented best singer up front and make them sing everything the entire time.
Exactly. Like pretty much everyone who even has like a minor role in this, from like Bill Moseley,
who cannot sing at all.
But I love him.
I mean, I do too.
Ever since Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 Chop Top, like he's like one of the guys that I really like enjoy when I see he's in something, and like automatically this is something I will watch.
Oh, see, I didn't see that. The first movie I ever saw with him was House of 1,000 Corpses as Dr. Satan.
So you said House of 1,000 Corpses?
That's literally what it is. Yes.
I've literally always called it House of 1,000 Corpses.
But it's not. So I call it that too when I slip up. But the way it is written is House of 1,000 Corpses. There is no A.
I mean, I recognize that I'm wrong in this instance, but you saying it like that makes my brain go, that's not how I say it.
Yeah, no, I know I'm right, and you don't like to hear the truth sometimes.
Well, no, I just said
okay.
I recognize that I'm wrong.
No, it's okay. You can't handle the truth. That's okay. But no, it's weird saying it. But I like Bill Moseley a lot.
Yeah, so. And like you said, I don't think his singing in this was very good.
Well, I mean, you don't have to think. You can know just
by
listening to it.
But I agree with you. That's really awesome. That's a really awesome thing that this movie did, because everyone has the opportunity to like express themselves, and I think that's fun.
Well, and I know that this movie wasn't made for me to watch, because the first time I watched it was an adult, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure you and Mata both said that you watched it as younger kids.
Well, I mean, not necessarily younger kids, but we were like both probably like in our the first time we watched it together, we were both younger. We were like early 20s, or I might have been 19. It might have been like 19 and 20ish.
Well, and I would argue that you're still kind of angsty and rebellious at 19, 20, right?
No, I mean, I didn't. The last time I watched this movie was probably like 4 or 5 years ago. I was probably like 22 or 23, and I didn't realize it was cringy then. So I would
Oh.
say it's been even more recent than that I've stopped being like angsty and cringy in general.
I would have said the last time you watched it was last night.
Prior to last night,
Okay.
which last night I recognized the cringy parts that I had never recognized before.
Okay, I noticed those immediately, and don't worry, we will talk about those because
Okay.
there's not a lot of substance to this movie.
No, but it's a really fun movie.
Well, what's it about?
Well, so it's about two different things. So it follows pretty much two different main storylines, and one is about Shiloh, which is played by the girl from Carmen from Spy Kids, Alexa Vega.
Alexa Vega. I knew there was a reason that I was like, man, in a weird way, she's attractive.
Well, I just want to say that Alexa Vega was 20 in this movie, even though she was playing a 17-year-old.
Yes, that's why I said that, Bailey. I did my research. Do
Right.
not worry.
Right, no, but I'm just saying for anyone else who just watched the movie and is like, well, in the movie it says she's 17.
Right. Well, I mean, so to back that up, I grew up watching Spy Kids, right? Because I
Yeah.
fall into that age group.
No, me too. So I've been attracted to her since I was, what, like 6, 7, the first time the first Spy Kids movie came out.
Yeah, because there's always that, I don't know, like you have that little kid crush or whatever that you're like, oh yeah, that's Carmen Cortez, man.
Well, yeah, it's the same with like Brenda's song from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Yeah,
Growing up,
yeah.
I was like, oh, she's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Huge crush. And Ashley Tisdale,
Yeah,
huge
both
crush.
of them. Yeah, huge
Which-
crushes.
Saying that now as an adult could be perceived as weird, but from the mindset of 10 when I was first watching it, totally normal.
Well, yeah, and you're just like, coming into your sexuality where you're like, oh.
Exactly.
I think it's the first time I've ever left you speechless on this podcast. But, I mean, it's kind of nice that we're kind of going off track with it because this movie definitely goes off track a couple times.
Well, so that's one fun thing about this movie. There are a bunch of hard lefts and hard rights, but basically what it's about Shiloh, which is Alexa Vega, and Jinko, which is the company that has made it legal to repossess organs. And basically, Shiloh's dad is a repo man for this company. So he's under control of this company. The company basically has say in everything he does. And the person in charge of the company, Roddy?
Which I thought was Rodney.
Yes. But he's not from the Deep South, so it's Roddy.
I was thinking more like Jersey Shore, but yes, that works too.
I mean, yeah. And he's dying, and he doesn't want the company to go to any of his kids, but he used to have a crush on Shiloh's mom, and they used to date. They were going to get married, or they may have gotten married. But either way, Shiloh's dad ended up stealing Roddy's wife. So
It was Marnie.
Marnie, yes. And I don't have the repo man's name in my brain right now.
I mean, he has a name, and I know that he has a name, but he's always referred to as
The Repo Man.
The Repo Man.
Exactly.
Because the Repo Man's coming for you.
But so because of this, Roddy wants his company to go to Shiloh instead of his
Nathan.
kids. Nathan.
Nathan, yeah. I knew it was something stupid.
Yeah, something basic. But he didn't want it to go to his kids because he's got 3 kids, and one of them is Amber Sweet, who is played by
Paris Hilton.
Exactly, and she's addicted to surgeries and addicted to Zydrate, which comes in a little glass vial.
A little glass vial?
Exactly. And his other son is like has temper tantrums, and he's played by Mil Mosley.
That's Luigi.
And he just he's always stabbing people. Like that's his thing.
Oh, kind of like how Mario just jumps on people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Didn't know that Luigi stabs people, did you? Now you fucking do.
Exactly. But he's, stab crazy, so he doesn't want to go to him because he's got a temper.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third son,
Pavi. It's Pavi. I made sure to write that one down because I couldn't for the life of me remember his name, but I can remember his face.
which one?
Oh, all of them.
But he's also very deranged, which you can tell. He's in love with himself. He's got a clearly it's a very open, like, narcissistic personality, and the ladies are all over him, and he's like constantly questing. So
And he's constantly changing his face.
yeah, so Roddy doesn't want it to go to either of his 3 kids, but he liked Shiloh's mom, Marnie, so he's like, I'm going to try to give it to Shiloh if she'll betray her father for me.
I like how I asked for a summary of the film, and you just went through like the whole thing. No, we don't even have anything to talk about.
Well, you just asked that is a summary.
No. So the summary, if I had to do the summary for it, I would say
5-sentence summary, go.
5-sentence summary. Are we just gonna start doing that now?
I think you're going to start doing it.
Oh, so I have a new bit. Okay. So 5-second summary
5
would
seconds.
be a 5-second summary. Jesus Christ! Ow, my body. Oh, don't take that. I love your mom. Oh, I'm dying. Oops, I'm dead. That's kind of the whole movie. I just went through it.
You did that a lot. That was a lot more efficient than I thought it would be.
Yeah, that was on the spot too. So
No, I know.
I perform well under pressure, ladies. Under pressure.
But so you said, or what would you say your favorite like song from this movie was?
Oh, I mean, so it's definitely the and it's weird. It's the one that we keep referencing, the grave robber.
It's the Paris Hilton grave robber, or Paris Hilton Terrance Zdunich, which I'm so sorry I'm not pronouncing that right. I tried to find a way to find or pronounce it online,
And you couldn't find it.
I couldn't find anything that
Let's call him
pronounced it.
Terrance.
Yeah, Terrance.
Yeah, just Terrance. So I don't like his part. I think his part is incredibly annoying. It's catchy because obviously we do a little glass vial,
A little glass vial.
and that kind of sums up his whole part. But then when Paris Hilton, Amber Sweets comes in, is she sing? And I don't even know if she can actually sing. I didn't research it.
I'm pretty sure that they all did their own singing parts.
Okay,
So yeah, she's got pipes.
because the pipes on Alexa Vega was awesome.
Yeah, no,
And-
Shiloh did amazing too.
Well, and the pipes on Paris Hilton were really incredible because the way that she just sings the grave robber song, that's like her part where she goes grave robber. That's just what
Yeah,
sticks in my head.
absolutely mesmerizing.
So because of that, I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, so that's also my favorite song. I really like it's the Repo Man song. When he's like, when it's showing that he's the Repo Man, when he like Nathan, when he goes down behind the picture and he's like, I'm the night carver.
Was that the one where he says, "I remember"?
Yeah.
I hate that.
Really?
Okay, so I didn't like that one because he constantly says, "I remember," and that was kind of it. And then how do I describe it? Because I can see the entire.
So it's called Night Surgeon is the name of the song.
Okay, I mean I can see it play out.
Or I'm sorry, Legal Assassin.
Oh, which one is it, Bailey?
It's Legal Assassin.
Is it the Night Terror Legal Assassin Surgeon?
No, it's Legal Assassin is the name of the song.
Okay.
And I thought that's probably my second favorite song, followed by Mark It Up.
'Cause you remember.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Remember what you did to Marnie, which it obviously sounds bad because I'm not a vocalist.
So one thing that I think is super funny with this is if you pay attention to the lyrics for most of these songs are not that good.
No.
And there are very inappropriate times when they sing. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please
right?
elaborate because I'm not quite sure I'm following.
Okay, so there are some times where in a musical you have conversations and you don't actually have singing conversations. It's just a real one. And a perfect example of this is when Shiloh sneaks out of the house and gets in the car with Roddy for the first time. I was expecting them to talk. They did not.
Yeah, it would have made more sense for that from a narrative perspective for them to be talking and explaining exactly what was happening instead of like letting you figure it out based on the context of like knowing their backstories, because it shows you people's backstories in like comic book.
Which you explained.
Yeah.
Basically everybody's backstory.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me that would have been better.
Yeah, it would have been it would have been a better narrative piece had they taken breaks from the singing to like actually explain stuff instead of letting you kind of figure it out on your own.
Which those are the musicals that I can kind of, and I mean, I'm not even gonna say I like them, tolerate them. I guess it's kind of like even in Oklahoma, they have talking parts.
I've
and
never seen that musical.
Let me see. I did choir in high school, so the plays that we did were Oklahoma, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and I can't remember the third one.
So I wasn't in choir, and by the time I moved to Oklahoma, the forced involvement in plays and stuff was over. So
Oh,
I've
yeah.
actually never done Oklahoma in my entire life. I've never even seen it, which a lot of people are like, well, you live in Oklahoma, don't you? And I'm like, uh-huh.
I mean, if I hadn't have had to do it, there is no reason why I would see it.
Right, but pretty much everyone here who grew up here had to do it. I was just lucky and wasn't here during that period of time.
Yeah, during the Great Depression, you are correct.
Yeah. So so that's something that I avoided.
And so one of the things that I think that I don't like about this movie is it's very obvious that the Repo Man is Shiloh's dad. Like, I mean, I didn't say anything, but I instantly
Well-
knew it when she's about to get shot for grave robbing, but she's not.
Well, so that was never supposed to be hidden from the audience. That was just supposed to be hidden from Shiloh, and she didn't find that out until the very end.
Okay, again, just seems like poor lazy writing to me.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of narrative choices that made this a weaker movie, like from a cinematic perspective.
Oh, from a cinematic perspective, this is a steaming pile of dog shit.
Right.
But we're not looking at it from a cinematic perspective, because if we were, this would be a really terrible podcast. We got to go into it with an open mind.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like I said, I like this movie, even though it's, I agree that it has, kind of a weak narrative,
And
but
weak lyrics.
but the art in it is like really cool. I think that that's fun. I think that like the overarching like story concept is amazing.
I mean, so I've seen Repo Man,
Yeah.
and I will say
Which this came first.
this did come first. But I will say that I enjoyed Repo Man more because there was no singing. But I really do honestly think that if you take all the musical bits out of this movie and made people just have regular fucking conversations, it wouldn't be that bad. Because it's a fan piece. Like it's a love letter to whatever, to the
It's a low budget passion project, kind of
Yeah,
like this
that's it.
podcast.
Whoa. We are not low budget. We are no budget. We don't have a budget because we don't make money from this.
Right. But but it's a passion project.
Yeah, no, like this podcast. And that's fine. I don't know. I don't want to get on like a tangent about how much I hate musicals.
No,
Because
you
I
can.
do.
It's okay. I don't I'm not opposed to musicals. I had friends in high school who introduced them to me that made it to where I have more of an appreciation for them now than I historically did. But like I like Grease, I like,
Don't like Grease.
I like Sweeney Todd.
Don't like Sweeney Todd.
I like Les Miserables.
Oh, Les Miserables.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with
don't like that. Hugh Jackman.
with Hugh Jackman.
Okay, so that's a great example of a movie that puts your person who can sing the best at the forefront and really doesn't give anybody else the chance to shine.
I mean, that's fair, but I still think it's solid.
I look at everything from a I hate musical perspective, so I agree with you.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, that's why this one, I mean, it was hard to sit through this, don't get me wrong. And the one scene that I would say I would have walked out, and I don't ever walk out of anything, but the one scene that I would have walked out of this movie from was when her and her dad get into it, and they're having this intense singing conversation because musical, and all of a sudden she goes from talking with her dad to fuck you dad, I'm 17, I can do whatever I want, and then it goes from this like more industrial metal type feel to a straight up punk.
Yeah, to like an angsty pop punk song.
Yeah, and it comes out of nowhere, and it only stops when he slaps her.
Yeah, no. So like we said earlier, this takes a lot of like hard lefts and hard rights, and
This did both at the exact same time.
exactly. So this song doesn't really fit in because the like genre of music feels different than any other song within. And this feels like, well, this is like, in my opinion, the cringiest part of the whole movie.
No,
like,
it is the cringiest part of the whole movie.
Like there was previous parts that were kind of cringy.
Like
but
the limo scene.
Yeah, but this was super cringy and super hard to watch as like an adult because she's like, it's just, I don't know, it's strange because she's kind of like being a little provocative and she is playing a child in this.
But so here's my argument. This is also the best scene in the entire movie because it encapsulates everything that this movie was trying to get like the point across, right? Like those are the types of people that this movie is going to
Resonate
appeal
with.
to. Yeah, resonate with, appeal to. That's why that's the scene that I would have walked out. But had I have been a teenager when I saw this, that probably would have been my favorite scene because I'm like, yeah, dude, I feel it.
Well, no, so see, I remember the scene watching it for the first time, or I don't know if it was the first time, but I remember seeing the scene as a younger person going, oh, that's so fucking badass.
Yeah, because that's what it is.
Exactly. And it's really weird, like, now, looking back, because the second it started, I immediately could tell. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
This is actually cringy. It's not as cool as it was, the last time I watched it.
And the only other scene that I can honestly say would be semi close to this one is the first time that you meet the kids when they're all in the factory. The three kids of Roddy.
Oh, Amber, Sweet, Luigi.
Well, Amber, Luigi, and Poppy.
Yeah.
Whenever you meet them, and Bill Moseley or Luigi says, "Gonna make a hole and fuck it."
No, see, I love that. That's like the funniest line in the whole movie. That's Mark It Up. That takes place during Mark It Up, which is my third favorite song in this.
I mean, well, that's like Bill Moseley though, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, I loved it.
But it's kind of cringy. You have to admit that.
I can recognize the cringe, but I also know people in real life that say stuff like that super seriously, or not seriously, but like jokingly serious.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yes. No, I understand where you're coming from. I just wanted you to recognize the fact that it is cringy.
I mean, I could recognize it as cringy, but like I said, that's something that people still say stuff like that.
Right. Okay. I see where you're coming from.
Like, you've seen American Pie.
Yes. This one time at band camp.
Well, I was talking more about
The OG one.
Yeah. No, the with the apple pie, or was it an apple pie? What kind of pie was it?
I don't know because all those movies legitimately run together.
Well, so in one of them, I can't even remember the dude's name anymore because I haven't seen any of them in so long. But he has sex with a
with a pie, right?
yeah, it's like a pie or something like that his
Yeah.
mom made. It's really funny. I don't know. Make a hole and fuck it reminded me of that.
Okay, I can see that. I mean, that scene was brutal. Most of this, so here's the deal. I told you that there was one scene that the singing was appropriate.
Okay.
The only time the singing was appropriate was during the opera part with Blind March.
Blind Mag.
Is it Mag?
Yeah.
That was March.
It's Blind Mag.
Okay, but no, the way that I'm saying it sounds better than what it is.
Right, but it's wrong.
Because, I mean, I recognize the fact that it is wrong, but I'm saying it sounds better. Like when you said House of 1,000 Corpses, and I'm like, House of 1,000 Corpses.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Blind Mag, that just sounds like a really shitty band.
Yeah, no, she did amazing during her like solo right before she plucks out her eyes.
Which was brutal. I mean, the special effects weren't.
No, I mean, a lot of the like computer generated stuff in this wasn't like super solid, and they didn't do very many good practical effects.
Which we'll talk about that later. But I will say that part where you're at the opera, because that was the whole point. It was a performance, and she was doing an opera piece. That's okay. I recognize that as this was appropriate for the movie, and I'm okay with it. That's the only time the singing is allowed.
See, I just feel like you're a hater, bro.
I mean, of musicals, yes.
Do you want some haterade
I
to
do.
rehydrate?
I think that I think that I'm an elitist when it comes to that. Like I like my films to be pure talking.
Like I said, I think that the musical aspects of this was fun. I think that some of the songs were really catchy and really good. Some of them, were less so.
And I think that the movie, because when I come at it from like an open mind, right? I'm not just necessarily closed off and say fuck it, it's a musical. I'm not watching this.
Right.
Um, I think that it's a fun, chaotic movie
Absolutely.
that goes all over the place, and you wouldn't really resonate with it as an adult unless you're still an angsty adult that is punk basically or goth, because that's who I feel like it was targeted towards more than anything.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But it's a fun it I don't know, it's fun when it doesn't sing, because it kind of goes all over the place, and you know that it's low budget, and you know the practical effects aren't going to look great, and when he rips the dude's spine out, it's pretty obvious that it's fake.
Yeah. Like it's not. Well, see, that's why I argue that this isn't a scary movie at all, because it's listed as horror, but I would argue that it's not scary enough in any point to be horror, because even like the kills aren't suspenseful kills. They aren't, like, they're kind of like gory, like they show blood and stuff. But if you have seen other movies that try to do it in a more realistic fashion, it's super easy to recognize that it isn't like real. Like, it's not how things actually play out, which to me diminishes the scary factor.
Okay, but I don't think horror necessarily has to be scary. Like look at Evil Dead 2.
Right. I wouldn't call Evil Dead 2 horror. I would call that a comedy.
That's a horror comedy.
Right.
Tucker and Dale.
I don't call that. I mean, yes, it's horror adjacent. I would call it a comedy with horror elements.
Cabin in the Woods.
I would say that's a horror movie, but it's also got comedic elements.
Yeah. So see, like horror doesn't have to be, because if you go from like the aspect of it being scary as a person who grew up watching horror movies, nothing is a horror movie to me because it doesn't scare me.
Well, I mean, no, nothing really scares me either. We had this conversation a few weeks ago, but yeah, no, nothing really scares me. Like sometimes during like movies like The Night House with the scene where she falls asleep on her legs.
Okay, well, yes, but that's different.
Yeah,
that's
it's a jump scare. It's
right.
not.
Well, and usually I'm good about picking out jump scares and finding them, because I'm like, oh, they're in the bathroom and they're about to close the cabinet mirror.
And now there's like a little bit of suspenseful music playing.
Oh no, when they close it, what's going to happen? Oh no, there's a face in the mirror. Like,
predictable.
Super predictable. That one was just loud noises.
That one was loud, unexpected noises, because there was no thought in my mind that was going to happen, but we've already done The Night House, so.
Right. So we're not going to get into that. We're going to get back to Repo.
Exactly. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's a fun movie that is fucking terrible at times, but
I think that I would call this like a fun musical that doesn't take itself too seriously.
No, it doesn't take itself seriously at all, and that's evident.
The only reason why it's okay with how like cringy it is at times.
But even if it takes itself seriously, the fact that I know that it's not good is okay.
Right.
It makes it better, in my opinion.
Wholeheartedly agree. So my next question: Do you have any additional statements to make regarding the movie? Like any like scenes that you really enjoyed or scenes that you specifically dislike? Was there any other like really cringy scenes you want to talk about, or was there any like scene that you saw that was like, oh, this was actually really cool that you want to talk about?
Yeah, actually. So when Amber's face falls off,
that was funny.
I was like, okay, that summed up basically her character. That one wasn't bad for practical effects, if we're being honest.
No, I thought that one looked cool.
That one did look cool. I very much disliked when he took the guts out of the guy, like one of his first kills, when he's explaining that he's never going to tell his daughter that he's the repo man and that he killed her mom, which he did, and it was Rowdy Roddy Piper. See what I did there? Yeah. Who killed her, sorry. And because it's like he's singing, and then he sticks his hand up in the dude and moves his mouth like a puppet.
I thought that was fun.
Okay, but like the deal is when you listen to it, you can obviously tell that it's the other guy talking. If that was annoying, I guess, more than anything.
See, I thought that was fun. Like, I agree that it doesn't look like it's not good, but I
No.
thought it was fun, so it's okay.
It would have been better if it had just been him trying to mimic instead of him trying to mimic while the guy actually says words.
Right? No, that's fair.
Yeah, that would have been better for me. So that was super annoying. I would say I liked his costume.
The Jinko Repo Man suit.
Yes,
Yeah.
except for the light in the helmet.
I didn't like the light in the helmet, and then I didn't like the Jinko patch on the shoulder.
I thought the Jinko patch was okay. It kind of reminded me of Umbrella in a way.
That's fair.
Like Jinko kind of is Umbrella.
Well, no, they're not creating zombies. They're creating
Drug
dependent.
addicts, which are zombies. They're creating drug addicted zombies. This is basically what it is.
That's a pretty hard stance against drug addicts.
It's not a hard stance against drug addicts. It's a hard stance against what is it? Zyprate?
Zydrate,
Zydrate.
which comes in a little glass vial.
A little glass vial?
A little glass vial.
I don't know. I guess that song was fun. We keep quoting it, but
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, that's probably my favorite song in the movie. I have this whole like album, like the whole movie album saved in my Spotify. So sometimes I'll be like going on long drives and I'll just listen through like 2 or 3 of the songs that are bangers.
I mean, yeah, because that is one thing I will say. The soundtrack is really good, but if I'm not watching it,
Yeah,
that's what it is.
exactly. Well, so have you actually listened to the soundtrack? Like gone back to listen to any of it?
Mm-hmm.
So did you notice that the Zydrate song on the soundtrack and the Zydrate song from the movie are different?
Yes.
I like the movie one slightly more.
I don't have a preference, I would say. I mean, it's slightly different, but really the only part I like in that is Paris Hilton.
That's fair.
So it doesn't necessarily make that much of a difference to me.
So did you know that this was actually supposed to be a saga? It kind of mentions it at the end of this movie.
Okay, so that's one thing I was going to ask you about because the ending was very ambitious, I guess.
Yeah.
Because basically what happens, just to sum it up, is Roddy tells Shiloh that he has a cure for her blood disease, which turns out she wasn't actually even sick. She was just being poisoned by her father. And she tricks her dad into getting there. And then Roddy's like, I want you to kill your dad. And she says, no, I love my dad, but I hate my dad. I'm not going to do it. And then he's like, all right, I'll do it. And shoots him. And then he dies.
Basically. So correct me if I'm wrong, but is that called like Munchausen syndrome when you like poison your kids to make, or when you make your kids think they're sicker than they are so that you have more like control over their life and they're dependent on you? Is that Munchausen? Because I know that there's like a legitimate like illness revolving that, and there are other movies that touch on it, like Run, which I believe is on Netflix right now. Because in that movie, it's a girl is in a wheelchair because she thinks she can't walk, but her mom has been like, I just spoiled the shit out of that. I'm so sorry.
Well, no, because that's the one that's based off the true story, right?
I believe so.
Where she kills her mom and runs away with her boyfriend.
Maybe not. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a couple of years, but I think so. That sounds familiar. But isn't that Munchausen syndrome? Or is it something else?
So I had to look it up. I mean, I have a degree in psychology, but the way that I've always thought of it is different. So according to the internet,
Okay.
it is a facetious disorder imposed on another, previously called Munchausen syndrome by proxy, is when someone falsely claims that another person has physical or psychological symptoms or symptoms of illness, or causes injury or disease in another person with the intention of deceiving others. So yes, but the way that I've always thought of it, and like all the examples that they taught us in class, was people that have Munchausen by proxy or Munchausen syndrome do it for attention. Because he wasn't doing it for attention. Well, I guess he was.
He was doing it so that she would be dependent on him.
But that's not like what the one that you were talking about. That wasn't because she wanted her daughter to be dependent on her. That was because she wanted large donations of money because her daughter was sick and needed a hair transplant or whatever. So she went on national television and garnered a lot of money from people. So
That's fair.
that's the way that I've always associated it with. So that's why I had to look it up just to check myself. But yes, technically speaking, that's what it would be. The more you know.
But yeah, so this was supposed to be a trilogy. This was supposed to be the middle film, and then they were going to release a prequel.
Because Amber was the one that ultimately gets it at the end. Which didn't make sense to me.
No, not really to me either. But there's like a lot of places you can go. Like if you guys want to, you can check out the Repo wiki, which has like a whole bunch of additional information from the writers of this for like songs that were never recorded and like scenes that they were going to put in the movie and additional information regarding the characters, because this whole like universe is a lot more fleshed out than is portrayed in the movie, and it's too much information to just like sit here and read off. So if you are interested, you can go to the Repo wiki and see all of that.
What else you got for me
in regards to this?
Yeah, like did you have anything that you want to talk about before we move on to recommendations?
So one thing that I kind of want to talk about is the like sexual tension in this movie.
What?
Not between Shiloh, not that. But so
hold on. Back up. What sexual tension with Shiloh?
Well, so with her, there's like clear sexual tension that's like shown between the grave robber, or I guess it's not shown very much in the movie, but it's hinted at toward in the wiki. But in the movie, it shows a specific scene with grave robber and Paris Hilton, or grave robber and Amber Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
So,
okay.
If all of the scenes were showed, which all of the scenes aren't in the movie, but if you go onto the wiki and read, which I thought this was really cool, but Amber never actually pays for the Zydrate she gets from grave robber with like money or anything. She pays for it with sex.
I thought that was implied based off of
it is implied, but there were 2 scenes not shown in the movie that are more graphic, and including an additional song that's basically confirms that, hey, yeah, grave robber, I'm not going to pay for this with money, but I will pay for it with my body. And like reading the dialogue that was written for it, it's like really interesting.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah. But there was also some implied stuff in the graveyard that was never actually put into the script because of the age of the age of Alexa
Shiloh.
Varney's character.
Shiloh?
Yeah, or Vega. Alexa Vegas.
Varney.
I don't know, because Marnie.
Yeah, okay. So you want to talk about the graveyard scene? I didn't get that. I didn't get any sexual tension.
It's because it wasn't in the movie. It was all stuff that would be implied in dialogue that was cut.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't feel like I felt the sexual tension between Amber and the grave robber, but also Amber and Luigi even.
When she licks his ear?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I thought that was just her character.
No, it is just her character.
Because I can't remember what the first time you see her is, like the first time you see her, but
I'm pretty confident the first time you see her is when Roddy is introducing you to his kids and talking about how they're all kind of pieces of shit.
And her position on the couch is very sexual.
Yes.
Like her whole character and everything that she does
is hypersexualized.
Yes. Like she's the hypersexual character.
Well, but that's a theme of this movie. Like we're not going to get into super thematic elements because they're all shallow in this movie.
You're not wrong.
Hypersexuality is like super implied throughout, not necessarily the opera scene, but the scene when they're at the Italian festival, like in the background characters, which originally there were only 20 extras for this, and that's why most people wear masks. Because it's the same people with different masks on trying to give the audience the illusion of more people.
Okay.
But some of their like background scenes, they're doing sexual acts, or there are like clearly sexual things depicted.
I'll have to go back and watch that.
Well, I mean, you didn't like the movie.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I'll probably never watch this again. That was a lie. Sorry, Mata.
But yeah, that's something that's also super cool, like looking back on it, which I didn't really catch very heavily during the movie, but during my additional research, I found a lot of information about it, which a lot of it was apparently cut, like a lot of like the super specific stuff because they didn't want it to be NC-17.
Which it could have. I could see how that was very easily be NC-17.
Yeah.
So one thing that I do kind of want to ask you, since you're bringing up those topics, did you get this feeling that this movie was about how drug addiction is bad, and so is debt, like this reliance on debt to make yourself happier?
So kind of, but like for me what I gathered is like the actual like element of what this movie's about is corporate greed and how humans are, or if you aren't wealthy and aren't powerful, you're seen as like essentially livestock,
Okay,
as long
yeah.
as you're providing whatever service for the government or the corporation in charge, then you're fine. But the second you become more of like a hindrance, like the excessive greed of corporations doesn't care about you as an individual and is willing to take everything you have once it sees you no longer as valuable.
Okay, I can see that.
But I could also see, how it's, demonizing drug addiction and stuff like that as well.
Well, because that was the feeling that I got, was it was demonizing drug addiction by basically saying, drug addicts are worthless, and the only time that they'll do anything, even take drugs from a technically a dead person,
Yeah, when the grave robber is harvesting hydrate.
out of the nose.
Yeah.
But then I'm also like thinking that this was an anti-debt, like debt's bad, fuck the corporations, fuck the banks and all that, because once you can't pay your debt, they take it back.
Exactly. No, I can definitely see that perspective too.
Again, I really had to get over my initial thoughts to figure out this movie has some sort of deep elements, not really.
So it has deep elements. The issue is because it's not a very long movie and they did most of it in musical.
And they didn't flesh anything out.
Yeah, exactly. All of the like heavy thematic stuff that they touch on is only that. It's only touched on because they don't provide like specific details. They don't talk
Right.
it out.
It's very shallow.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's touched on as shallow.
Exactly. Even which is why I'm kind of upset that they weren't able to make their second and third movie, because I feel like they would have had the opportunity to flesh it out, because like I said, exploring their wiki, a lot more thought went into this than is apparent based on like, the few like time inconsistencies, because in
Right.
all of the flashbacks in this, they all flash back to 17 years later.
Also, yeah, and I don't know why it was always that was the thing. It was always 17. No matter what flashback it was, everything occurred 17 years ago. Everybody was connected. That was annoying.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, because if Shiloh's character is 17 right now, that would have meant that, when Marnie got pregnant with her, it would have been 18 years ago. But 17 years ago, Marnie was still married or dating Roddy.
I mean, we're not going to get into that because most of this movie doesn't make fucking sense.
Right.
But that's okay. So
Yeah.
who do you think would like this? Like, what would your recommendations be?
So my recommendations for like if you're a young adult, or if you have, young angsty adults in your life, or if you have teenagers who you aren't, in my opinion, unnecessarily sheltering, I would think that they would probably really enjoy this movie, or any like outlier in general who still clings to their childhood angst.
Anybody that watched it as a kid would like it.
Maybe not. Maybe if nostalgia isn't a powerful enough drug for you.
Oh, like exaggerating.
Yeah.
I think outcasts. Anybody that's ever felt like an outcast, especially around that age.
Yeah, they would be able to definitely respect it.
Which I think that's the reason why. Because the more that I thought about it, the more I'm like, okay, this was a movie that nobody wanted, and still got made.
So many of us needed, though.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far. But I'm like, I remember feeling like that as a kid, being a teenager and feeling that way. So I get it. I know where it's coming from.
Absolutely.
But I watched it at the wrong time in my life, and that's why my score was initially 0.
Right, exactly.
I would if you like musicals, I wouldn't recommend this.
So if the other things, if the other stuff speaks to you, I would recommend it. And other recommendations I would base, if you like this movie, maybe Sweeney Todd.
I mean,
Maybe Repo Man if you like the premise of this movie but aren't a huge fan of the musical elements.
as a person who literally fits that description perfectly, yes, I speak from personal experience. You will like it more.
Okay, what other recommendations do you have, or do you have any?
I mean, I didn't really have any because I would say if you like musicals, Sweeney Todd, right? If you like horror and musicals, Sweeney Todd. If you like horror and musicals, I don't point towards this one because I think as a musical, it's very bad, like really bad.
I mean, it's got some weak elements.
The whole thing is weak as a musical. So that's why. I don't know. Recommendations are hard for me because
Because this is such a niche movie.
a super niche movie. I mean, I guess you could say if you liked Bill Moseley, House of 1,000 Corpses, because he kind of acts the same.
No, I would argue that Luigi and Dr. Satan aren't the same. Or he wasn't Dr. Satan. Did he play Dr. Satan? I thought he played the brother.
I mean, we're not going to talk about that. Well, I mean, I guess we've already kind of ruined it. No, he really was Dr. Satan because the guy that they're... No, he wasn't Dr. Satan. He was the brother. You're right.
Yeah.
They just... Yeah, I think.
I mean, he might have played both, but I don't think that it was...
Oh, he was Otis.
Yeah, Otis.
Otis Driftwood.
Yeah.
Who gets better in The Devil's Rejects, but...
Well, I mean... Never mind.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about Repo, the genetic opera.
Yeah, I had a couple fun facts I was going to toss that you'd probably already know, but we're probably going to do that series someday. Or at least,
we will.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoy The Devil's Rejects.
As do I.
We'll do the whole
I like
trilogy.
House of a Thousand Corpses too. I don't like Three from Hell very much.
I fucking bought that movie because I own all three of them.
As you should.
Yeah. Do you own them?
I own the first two. I don't own Three from Hell because I rented it and wasn't a fan, and then was like, nope.
Yeah, I bought it brand new for like $15 on Blu-ray, and I was like, it's gonna be great.
It wasn't bad.
It was. We'll get into that when we'll do all three of them together. But
absolutely.
Yeah, if you have any more recommendations, because again, recommendations was kind of hard for me.
It's hard for me too, but I would say that you should give this movie a chance if you ever have the opportunity to watch it for free. And then if you're like angsty or a teenager, I would say you will probably like it.
Or if you're Mata.
Well, I mean, don't hate.
No, I'm not. I like Mata.
Yeah, I like Mata.
So, I don't know. He may find this funny. He may be like, fuck you. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. All right.
God, I can't wait for his reaction to this.
And then for Taylor's talk, what do you have today?
So I have a question for you, right?
All right. Hit me with it.
So this is a question, and I was really trying not to give it away. Because I could have talked about this much earlier, but I was like, no, we're saving this for Taylor Talk. So I want to know what, and it doesn't just have to be movies. It can be music, video games, books, or whatever. What is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure?
Yes. Finally got him stumped.
So, have you seen the new seasons of Queer Eye?
For the straight guy?
No, it's the new one is Netflix original, and it's just called Queer Eye.
Okay, no, I didn't even know that existed.
So it's basically it's the same show.
Just a revamp. Okay.
Exactly, and it's these 5 gay dudes who roll over to like people's houses, and they give them like makeovers, and they help them like redecorate, and they like do things to like boost their confidence and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was living in West Virginia by myself, it was my guilty pleasure. Like, I've seen the first, like, 3 seasons and Queer Eye in Tokyo.
I didn't even know the Tokyo one.
Probably, like, 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought it was awesome. Like, it's super fun. It's super cool.
Okay, so what about music?
Music, I don't have a guilty pleasure with music. I'm super straightforward about what I like and don't like.
There's not one. Okay, so I have 2. So I guess I don't really have, like, TV shows. I think I'm more...
No, I don't. I mean, I don't have movies, really. And I don't have...
What about a genre?
No, not really. Like,
so
I guess reality TV would be the only one, but there are only a few reality shows I like, and most of them I'm straightforward about.
Like Queer Eye.
Well, no, I don't think I've ever told anybody that I've like watched that show like a lot.
We're getting a podcast exclusive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people will know that I've watched it because, like, you know, people who know me know that that's like stuff that I'm kind of into.
Right.
Just because, you know, it's very wholesome.
I definitely couldn't tell from your fashion sense today. So
that's cold-blooded. But no, I mean, it's just wholesome, and I really like wholesome content because it gives me faith in the world.
I can go with that.
Oh, well, okay, so in regards to that, it's the same with, like, YouTube or Facebook videos and stuff. Whenever I see videos of, like, people helping each other or animals doing cute stuff, I just see it, and I'm just like, oh, this makes me feel good. This
'Cause
makes
it's
me
wholesome.
happy. Exactly.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from with that one.
But, like, music, no, I'm super straightforward about I like what I like and don't like. Movies, same way. Books, same way. Video games, same way. I'm pretty sure there's nothing that I'm, like, embarrassed about, which is what I see a guilty pleasure as.
Right. It's something that is inherent. So the way I look at it, like guilty pleasure, is something that is inherently the thing that people would make fun of you for. So like my thing that I get roasted on completely is I really
Magic the Gathering.
I mean yes, but that's a hobby. But no, my thing is Pantera, right? Because like metal people will tell you that Pantera is not metal, and like I get it, I understand, but
Pantera's fun, though.
I mean yeah, but I get
A
roasted.
vulgar display of power.
Yeah, it's like their best album.
That's
not
my
the point.
shit.
Yeah, that's a great. Bloodhound Gang.
I like Bloodhound Gang.
I think they're fucking hilarious.
That's why I like
but
them.
I'm not gonna like openly admit it, but I just did. Anyway.
Oh, I guess Nickelback. Even though I'm not embarrassed by it, I guess that could be a guilty pleasure. Like All the Right Reasons is one of their albums, and I saw that album live with one of my friends, Brandon, when I was growing up.
Yeah, but that's more like nostalgia.
Well, no, I still like it. Like if that comes on, I'm still like, fuck yeah.
Okay, because if like Rockstar or Photograph,
they're both from that album, yeah.
Yeah, when that comes on, I'll sing along to it because it's just nostalgia and ironic at that point. And please do not hate me for saying this, but I really, really fuck heavily with U2.
And I'm not opposed to U2. I don't listen to them personally, but I have no opposition.
Like, I really like U2. I know I get roasted for that one because everybody goes, "Are those the guys that put their album on my phone?"
I mean, so I don't know. I don't think that you should make fun of somebody for things they like in a legitimate sense. Like, obviously, I'm going to talk shit on you playing Magic, but it's not because
Right.
I'm opposed to it. It's because it's clearly something you're embarrassed about, and that's why it's funny.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say that I spend a lot of money on a children's card game.
Right.
It's for ages 13 and up.
But it's not something that, like I think that judging someone or having, like, legitimate negative feelings towards someone based on something they like, unless they like murdering babies or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's grounds.
Yeah, that's clearly wrong. But, like,
Right.
if someone's like, yeah, I like putting socks on with my sandals, which aren't shoes. If someone likes doing something like that, then, like, I think it's weird. I'm going to say, like, that's weird, but, like...
Did this just turn into the roast of me because I do that?
But I still think it's okay to do stuff like that, and I'm not going to, like, hold it against you.
Literally are now.
No, I'm not.
You're like, it's weird.
I-
Okay, so here, back to what I was saying. So my
I'm
guilty
sorry.
pleasure for movies is exploitation films.
We know.
And the reason...
Literally everyone knows.
Literally everybody knows that, right? So if you have any exploitation films because I know Bailey absolutely fucking hates them.
They don't make me feel good inside.
Okay, what about a Grindhouse movie? Like
I
a
like
Grindhouse. That's exploitation.
It's
So
so
form of it, like
yeah,
you know.
it's like but it's like a lighter form. It's like almost a comedic form.
I wouldn't necessarily say that because they're trying to be okay. So let me rephrase that. I think so when I think of exploitation, I think of because exploitation is like a Grindhouse movie. What you're thinking of is which is also another guilty pleasure. The French New Wave extremity movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Martyrs and Irreversible. I can't think of the name.
Antichrist.
No,
I guess that
I mean,
wasn't French.
that wasn't. I mean, that's more of an extremity movie though, which I like those too because I like Lars von Trier. But High Tension.
Okay.
You ever seen High Tension?
I've not. The only one of those that I've seen and remember well is Martyrs.
And yeah, well that's one that if we were ever to do that, it's gonna come like super later because I think there's gonna be a very niche audience for that one.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that, like, if we were to, like, be like, oh, you guys should watch this, and then you guys were to watch it, most of you would probably be like, oh, we should boycott the podcast. Like, they shouldn't be allowed to give recommendations to people because they're recommending this dark, horrible, evil stuff.
Okay, so yeah, but in the sense with that one, I think the reason I like that one so much is because I relate. So the reason I like Antichrist, there was like a whole period where Lars von Trier did his like depression movies, and there was like 3 of them in a row. I want to say Nymphomaniac is on that too.
Which I like Nymphomaniac,
Yeah.
part 1 and 2.
Well, it's just one movie.
It's split into two
It's
parts.
like Kill Bill. Kill Bill's one movie.
Also split into 2 parts.
Still one movie.
I agree that it's one movie, but it's 2 movies.
It's one movie, but not the point. I like Lars von Trier's depression ones a lot because I can remember being like super depressed, and like because Martyrs is a super depressing movie, and that's what the whole thing is about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And watching it is incredibly hard, and I'm not necessarily. I'm not saying that I enjoy watching it. I enjoy the deeper meaning behind
The
it,
symbolism and thematic elements.
the symbolism, thematic elements, which is why I like Lars von Trier because there's tons in his movies. Are they hard to watch? Yes, but if you get through it, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, you're a better person for it.
I don't know about that. I feel like the people that like that though are the super hardcore film buffs, you know,
Yeah.
that are like, oh, I'll watch anything once. But yeah, like Grindhouse is fun, you know. Exploitation films are I think they were supposed to be super serious.
Well, so there are some that I would argue are fun, but there are others I would argue aren't fun. Like Funny Games, I thought that was fun. I had fun with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the thematic elements of that movie are great.
But a lot of people wouldn't consider that one fun.
Okay, so I will say that at some point we will do an exploitation film.
We're probably so we haven't like talked about this like personally, so I'm going to talk about it right now on the podcast. So this might not be the right element or the right time.
Okay.
But that's okay. So, the way Spotify and Anchor, which is the program we use to like upload our episodes, it's
and
set
we're
in.
not sponsored in any way by Anchor.
No, we're not
just yet.
We are not sponsored. So,
but we can be sponsored by Anchor if we get like 50 people to listen to this. So, and this is the part where I would go, and Anchor, if you're listening, we could be a sponsor. But no, Anchor, you literally could be a sponsor if people will listen.
Exactly.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good. But so the way uploading works is it's like split into seasons. So what I think we should do is whenever we start a new season, we should like try to take a hard turn in one direction or another. So at some point we might start a season and just do like 10 exploitation films in a row. Just like really hardcore, really dark, really brutal and painful and hard to watch. Last House on the Left.
But I mean,
you know, I Spit on Your Grave.
I think I think that if we did that though, that would be nobody would listen to us because that really appeals to such a niche.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that if you took like I Spit on Your Grave or Last House on the Left and sprinkled it in with like the horror movies, even with like Martyrs and stuff like that, you could technically count it in High Tension as like a horror movie, and you can get away with it that way. I would like to just randomly throw in an exploitation film, and I'll tell you which one it is.
Which one?
Thriller.
I haven't seen it. Let's do it.
Okay, so
You want to do it next week?
no, we already have one next week. No, I think I need to borrow it from someone. But that movie and the whole reason, like that was one of the movies that made me fall in love with exploitation because that movie is so low budget that the gunfights in that movie are legitimately real. They are shooting live rounds at each other. They are not fake.
They're not blanks.
No, they're not blanks. They're live round bullets that are being
just doesn't
shot
seem
at each
safe.
other. No, it's not. But that's the whole point of the movie. Like the movie's not safe, and that was what got me like to love exploitation films is because it was so low budget they had to use real bullets. I'm like, dude, that's fucking awesome.
I mean, that is pretty cool.
There's one movie. And I don't remember what it is, and I'll have to do my research on it because now that I brought it up, I know somebody's going to call me out on it.
Probably Ethan.
Probably Ethan, honestly. But there is and if you know this, which I don't know, if he knows it, he can tell me. But the main actor contracted like syphilis or gonorrhea because all the sex in that movie was real.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, a great example of exploitation. I'll say he contracted an STD from it and then tried to like sue him, I think. But yeah, exploitation.
Well, so I know that there was a movie, I want to say in the 80s or 90s, which I also don't remember it, where the dude stopped making movies afterwards because he wanted to actually have, or because he actually had sex with the girl in the movie, and everyone was appalled by it.
Oh, man. Okay, that's
And it
good.
was super publicized, but I have no idea what it is right now because I didn't think about it until you brought that up.
Okay, we'll look that up and get it on the next podcast so people will know.
Or I'll toss it on the Facebook group after this releases.
I mean, we're definitely going to toss it on the Facebook group. And if you haven't joined the Facebook group and you're listening, join the Facebook group.
Yep, it's Two Idiots, One Podcast, and it'll be the same banner as the banner on whatever streaming platform you're using.
Except for
Except for Apple.
except for Apple. God, I can't even say it with a straight face. Like, fuck you, Apple. If you're listening, fuck you.
Well, I mean, that is not Two Idiots, One Podcast opinion. That is Taylor's opinion.
Yeah, no, that is not Two Idiots, One Podcast opinion at all. Like, Apple, my opinion is I have your products. I have bought a watch, a phone, a iPad. Like, I have it all. I even have the iFridge. But what I don't have is the right logo on the podcasts. Okay? So, Apple, if you're listening, fix it.
Yeah.
Spotify, you keep doing what you're doing. Google Play, you keep doing what you're doing. We like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that was in no shape or form associated with Two Idiots One Podcast. That was associated with Taylor.
Yeah.
Make that abundantly clear. Well, yeah, so that's my guilty pleasure. Let me see what else we got. So what are we doing next week?
You know, we talked about it beforehand, but I have like short-term memory problems.
Oh yeah. Okay. So and this is gonna be a niche one too. Hell House.
Oh
LLC.
yeah, dude. Yes, we're doing Hell House LLC next week. It's a found footage, or I guess it's not found footage, but it's
No, it's found footage. I would classify this as a found footage film,
it's shot the same way like Blair Witch is.
which is a found footage film.
That's fair. It's
Cannibal Holocaust is a found footage film.
Cloverfield.
What's another? I mean, we'll just get the recommendations
Chronicle.
for that movie. Oh yeah, the superhero one. Which I don't
They
think was even
I
super-
don't
I
know
don't
if they
think
were
it was
superheroes, but
Oh,
yeah.
they're super powers.
Super people.
Super people. Yeah. So,
So yeah, next week is Hell House LLC.
and I guess if you're listening to this and you want to watch it, go out and watch it. I mean, tell us in the Facebook group. Get
Yeah,
on
that
Twitter.
you watched it and that you're stoked for our review.
Or say that you fucking hated it and you don't want to hear the review. That works too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Whatever. We're not picky.
Yeah, and anyways, this is Bailey,
And this is Taylor.
and this has been Two Idiots, One Podcast.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, fuck.
We're keeping that in. We're keeping that in.
Gee, I can't believe I whacked the shit out of that microphone. Oh my god.